Hey everyone, I'm going to go over today what I would have done had Kamala won to be president. So I have to explain where I'm coming from, like what happened during the whole Biden administration. So I know that Charlie Kirk said in one of his debates that he would have stayed and tried to make the country a better place had Kamala won, but um, I did not share his same circumstance, so therefore my response would have been different. To be very clear about what happened back in before 2020, I had a job where it, didn't make great money, but it made decent money. I could afford rent. I could get some food. I could just, and I had just a little bit left over. Not a ton, but a little. And that was the economy in 2020, pre Biden and pre COVID, somewhat too. But then when Biden came into office, everything changed. So, first of all, in 2021, I was still working the same job, and then I began to see signs on kiosks to Burger King and McDonald's, and they were paying more per hour than my job was at the time. And I found out that it was because of stuff that Biden had passed. So, for instance, like, oh, you can make more money just by sitting around at home being unemployed. Or, well, we'll just cut off the fracking, the drilling, and, hopefully we get enough gas into this country and everything will be fine. Well, that made the gas prices likewise go up, and everything just kept going up and up. And eventually, finally, I moved, and I moved more up northward, and then I had to drive clear out to a place called Park City. You may have heard of it, Park City, Utah, and it was like maybe a 30 to 40-minute drive away from where I was living at the time, and it just wasn't really the best of circumstance. And then at one point, I was even driving like a good 40 minutes away down southward to work at another job, a different job. And it just was so crazy. And then finally, like for 1 year, just 1 year during the Biden administration, I did have a pretty good job. I was a speech language technician. Basically, I could do speech therapy, but I had to work under a speech pathologist with a master's degree. So, yeah, that was a good year. But every year of Biden's administration minus that one, it was bad for me. Like I had to have a low-paying job. I had to drive like further away than I typically would. And also, there was a year and a half when I did not have a good, steady income paying job. Like, it just was awful. Like, I would work for barely 17 an hour at a call center, and it was really rough, and just, I could barely pay my rent. It was awful. It was so horribly awful. And 2024 came around, and I'm like, okay, well, people had better vote for Trump because if they don't, I can't really hold on much longer. And it was honestly at a point where I knew that if I didn't have a job like soon in the next few months, I would have to move out of where I was living and I would have to go back and live with my mom again, which, you know, when you're a certain age, you don't want to live with your mom, especially if you're a lady, because sometimes moms have different views than you do. But, anyways, I digress. So, I was actually going to leave the country had Kamala won. Yeah, I was like legitimately at that point. I was like, I'm going to leave just so that I can have a job because this economy that Biden and Kamala created was horrible and awful. And, I get that sometimes our economy fluctuates. Like I remember back during the Obama administration, yes, I had a job and I was very, very young back then, so I didn't really need a lot. And I was living with my mom at the time, so again, didn't really need a lot to pay rent, but I always, like, I had a job. And I don't blame Biden for and his administration for causing the economic recession of 2008. Like, I just don't, because I've done a lot of research. I've read that it was a housing thing, it was a stock market crash, like everything. But I do blame Biden and Kamala and their administration for what happened during their administration because they passed a law or regulation and then it affected the economy. So it wasn't just like an independent thing, it just was them. But I was having such a hard time for quite a few years there, especially like the last 18 months. And luckily, in September 2024, I did get a job, and it didn't pay as much as the speech language tech job, but it did pay. And I thought, okay, maybe this will be okay from here on out. And then Trump won, thank goodness, because at least we have more decent economic policies and plans put into place. And I am just so grateful that he won, because if he didn't, I would have left the country. I would have tried to scramble up enough money from doing odd jobs like house cleaning or babysitting or whatever so that I could buy a plane ticket to somewhere like Thailand, Taiwan, and teach English. I was that desperate. I didn't have a job. I didn't even have a job at like Burger King or anything like that. And I needed one. So Biden and Kamala, they gave me a lot of economic trauma. And that's what would have happened had Biden still been in office, or if Kamala would have won. I would have left the country just so that I could work. So I'm glad Trump won.